I need a new sidekick.
No, please.
You're hanging out in the House of Sunny podcast, where it's always sunny, mostly because of your host, comedian and YouTuber, Sunny Lohman. Want to know what Sunny and her friends are thinking about this week? Well, here she is, Sunny Lohman.
I was going to wear a flower in my hair, this little clip flower I have. And I thought to myself, when you're 25 and you wear a flower clip in your hair, that's cute. When you're 45, it's borderline crazy.
Psycho.
It's borderline like.
That's something a cat woman does.
Exactly. So I didn't do it.
Man. All right.
Oh, because I'm not 25. You know, this is the danger of these women. They grow older and they go, I want to still be 25.
Can't do that.
You know, instead of I want to be a hot 45, they go, I want to be 25. And then they're just weird. So.
Yeah, there's a way to be like old and sexy, but it's elusive. It's like
it's dignified.
It's not being like a kid. Yeah, it's being
right.
Like
it's a different kind of look. It's a completely different kind of sexy. Yeah. And it's tough. You know, you still want to be that hot 25-year-old that can like wear and do anything and look great. And in fact, the more sort of kooky you are, the more cool. And the older you get, I feel that sexy becomes classy.
I think it's more like the younger girls that look, I don't know, that's a hard one, but the older women that it's kind of like that pearls and jewelry, not overdone jewelry, but just like kind of like that Grace Kelly, classy Jackie Kennedy kind of look, you know?
Right. And
that's
you
more
see
like a dignified woman that's not fucking crazy, you know?
Right. Who's comfortable in their own aging skin, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like. So, okay, everybody, welcome to the House of Sunny podcast. Here we are again. We had so many responses to our podcast last week that I'm going to read some of the more typical ones because I feel like we need to get into it. We need to respond to some of these critics of ours. And I think you'll be surprised at what they said, what the criticisms were. And, but first I wanted to get into something personal because I had a couple of thoughts I thought that I would share with people. And that is, I have a lifetime pet peeve and I just want to I want people to share that with me because I want to know that I'm not alone.
Thank you.
Do you hate the driver do-gooder? The one that waves you on?
Exactly.
Am I right? Like this person
just go.
Right. This person doesn't want to follow the rules of the road. They think they're like the king of the road. Oh, I will allow you to break the rules and I will allow you to break the rules. And it's like in the midst. So it's dangerous. It's dangerous because if everyone just follows the rules, then I know what to expect and I can anticipate. But if you're waving me on, now I got to go or, you know, but does everybody know that I'm going and everyone's going to assume you're going because it's your right of way. And so now I've got to be extra cautious. And I just feel like the whole situation becomes dangerous.
You know what? Here's a perfect example of this is you're pulling out of a parking lot and it's really busy and someone stops in 2 lanes and says, okay, I'll let you get out into the road. But the cars in the other lane don't know that they're letting you out. So if you go out, they're like flying by. Yeah. It's like, no, just everybody go, do your job, follow the rules. I'll figure it out, you know?
Yeah. It drives me nuts. The 4-way stop sign is a classic for this because I think people get confused and then they just want to wave people on. But I have this thing every day where I drop my daughter off at her school. And that's also where she's going to a day camp right now, where it's a busy 2-lane highway and I have to pull out and take a left. And there's a turn lane in the center. I can pull into that turn lane and then wait and then go into that. So I know how to do it and I feel safe doing it. When people don't freaking break the rules, you know?
Yeah.
But always there are these parents pulling into the school parking lot around me, and they're in that turn lane and they want to wave me on. They don't want to take their turn and come in. They want to wave me on. And every time I feel like I'm putting my life, I don't know what to do. I just sit there and wave them, just sit there and wave them by and like wait another 10 minutes while they freaking get it into their head that I'm not going to go.
Death by do-go. Did you ever see the Portlandia episode where Fred and Carrie, they're like at a four-way stop and each one is waving each other on and they end up there for like 12 hours. Like it goes
exactly. No, you go. And then you all go at once and then everybody stops. And then
what
wait,
happens
right?
is like after 12 or 24 hours, they're half asleep and they finally crash into one another. It's hilarious.
That is exactly what I'm talking about. So everybody out there, just follow the damn rules. And it's a really arrogant attitude. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to let you break the rules. Who the hell are you? Just follow the rules.
My dad once told me that he goes, they teach you to be a defensive driver, but I'm an offensive driver. I believe in being offensive. So if no one's going to go, I go.
That's fine with me.
That.
But if you do that and then they're not expecting you to, and then they crash right into you. I mean, to me, it's really dangerous what they're doing.
If anyone pauses, I go. That's my philosophy.
At a four-way stop, I totally do that because F you. Anyway, the other thing that happened. Very cute. So the other thing that happened this morning. That's right.
Jesus said that once.
It's the 11th commandment. Somebody erased it. I think it's a conspiracy. So the other thing that happened this morning is that I lost my temper at my daughter on the way to school. And I feel guilty every time that happens. And I was thinking about it and thinking that's effed up, first of all, because sometimes it's important that I lose my temper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what she was doing was a problem. I think I overreacted because like I said, I feel old this morning and I'm exhausted. So I'm just extra tired. And I try to handle things diplomatically always with her, but don't you get kind of exhausted by that? Always being the reasonable, always having to like,
no, because I'm never
how to say things.
I'm never that way. So I never get exhausted by it. I'm never
Dads
reasonable.
don't do this. Mothers do this, I think.
Let's go.
I don't see her dad doing this like ever. But he also never loses his temper with her. But I think he doesn't have standards. Like that's how he gets away with it.
Parental relativist.
He doesn't care if they're late. He doesn't care if she's not doing what she needs to do. He'll do it for her. He'll sort of overhelp her. And he doesn't care if they're late. And I care that they're late. I want her to do things by herself. And, and so I think I was helping her and she didn't really understand how I was helping her. And I was doing something for her that she didn't understand. And she like looked at me like, how dare you? Pissy at me after I just spent an hour getting her ready and like nagging her and the whole mom thing. Eat your food. Stop playing with that thing. Eat your food. We got to get going. We're running late. Eat your, oh my God, it's like the worst hour of my life. How do I stop doing this?
Well, you got to pick your battles. You got to, I think that's the one thing I've tried to learn is when I feel I'm nitpicking, I say to myself, just pick your battle. Like there's some things they're going to do because they're kids. It's okay. Don't worry about it. And if it's something like absolutely major, then you got to crack the whip a little bit. But if you're getting into that
process of getting them moving though, it's like just a constant nag because she gets distracted by everything and anything,
Right.
Oh, there's my top. And she starts spinning her top. Lucia, didn't I just say we have to leave in 2 minutes and you have to put your socks on and,
Dude, I have a 14-year-old son. I've walked in my kitchen when we're like in a rush to go and he's standing there like playing with a pan on the stove, or I'm like, what are you doing? You know,
Exactly.
So it's just, that's the way it is. That's you
It's
just
kids.
you gotta laugh at it sometimes. Yeah.
It's just kids, I guess.
Yeah, it's kids.
Well, it's fine until I got the dirty look, and then I was like, oh no, I did not spend the whole morning, you know, for you to have you give me a dirty look. And that's what I said to her, and I got really pissed. She's like, what's a dirty look?
What's a dirty look?
She didn't know.
That's a great question.
I'm using adult language. She's like, what's a dirty look? I didn't know I was giving you a dirty look.
Beautiful.
I love my daughter. She's so cute. It's her 7th birthday on Saturday, and we're having a big party here.
Oh.
So I'm super stressed out. That's probably why I feel old, because I'm like, I'm so stressed about this party.
7-year-old party.
So much to get ready.
Yeah.
Prioritize. It's a Harry Potter theme.
Oh.
I've been reading the books to her, and you know, I kind of figured out she's old enough for like book 1, book 2, book 3 was a little, and then book 4. Now I realize it's too old for her, but we're already halfway through it. So we're kind of have to finish it, but that's going to be it.
I never got into that stuff. Did you like the Harry Potter?
I did, you know, but I wasn't like an obsessive. I enjoyed the books, and I ordered them, like I pre-ordered them. So I got them when they came out, but I wasn't, you know, taking a test to see what house I'm in on BuzzFeed. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't. You
were too. I tried watching. I was just going to say, I know you did that.
No, I didn't, honestly. But my daughter has done it, and she tells me like what house she's in. I'm like, you don't know what house you're in. Somebody gave her this test. I'm like, it's a personality test. Who's giving my daughter a personality test?
Mm-hmm. Right. I tried watching the movie, and I couldn't even get through the movie.
I think the movies are terrible.
Are they?
The books are better. I thought they were terrible. I liked the third one, but other than that, I didn't really like them. I didn't really like the actors. So anyway, but she's into it. I started reading it to her, and she just loves it.
That sounds like fun.
I'm a little worried. I don't want her to get too obsessed, but is she dressing
up like one of the characters? Are you dressing up?
No.
What do you do? How is it
Harry Potter themed?
Harry Potter with you.
I'm the lazy mom, so it's the cake that I ordered from the supermarket. It's got some figurines on it, and the little gift bags that we have for the other kids. I bought.
That's not really a themed party, then.
I bought the every flavored beans. So you don't know about this?
No.
Some of them taste good, and some of them, like you can get cinnamon or you can get earwax.
Oh,
and it's out of Harry Potter.
Okay.
And Jelly Belly makes these.
It's gross.
So I have a box of those for each kid, and like a little Harry Potter figurine, and there's a tablecloth that's a Harry Potter on it. Like it's not hardcore Harry Potter themed, but you know what I did that's super cool? I ordered for like $15 on Amazon a brick wall backdrop, like for a photographer's studio. I'm going to cut it in half.
Oh, cool.
And you have to go through the brick wall to get to the party.
Oh, I was going to say that's pretty neat.
Yeah, that's Harry Potter right there.
I like that.
So I'm proud of that one.
Yeah, I remember that.
All right, so let's get into the criticism of our podcast last week.
Let's get into the bankruptcy and degradation of our culture and world and the apocalypse.
Let's go from birthday parties to sexual deviancy, and
nowadays they're very related. Nowadays, children's birthdays and deviancy are kind of like the same thing, right?
Well,
you're supposed to have drag queens. Are you having drag queens?
Am I supposed to have drag queens at my daughter's party? Yeah. I didn't know.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. Did you hear about the really funny thing? Let me just bring this up. I have to say this right because otherwise it's not as funny. Okay. A library in London was forced to apologize after a man dressed as a rainbow-colored bare-bottomed monkey with a fake penis was hired to perform in front of children.
Stop. Let me wait. Let me capture
I'm going to
that
share my screen.
sentence. What did it say? A rainbow
Hang on, let me share my screen because you can see the
penis?
picture of this dude. Here it is. Okay. UK library forced to apologize after hiring a man in a monkey dildo costume to perform in front of children. That's no problem.
Holy shit.
They
were forced to apologize. Like, oh, we didn't know. We didn't know this would be a problem.
The guy literally has a dildo hanging off of his front.
Yeah, sure. Wait, shit.
Let me see if I
saw
can.
It.
This like rainbow dildo monkey. I mean, what were they thinking?
Right there.
Look at this.
There we
Look at that.
Come
on. That was a performer for children. But it's fine, you know. And oh yeah, that one went too far, right?
How could we have known? Who could have known this would be a problem?
Look at that.
What? Monkeys do? Rainbow monkeys look like that? He has the nipple. The nipples are low too.
Fucking pervs. You know what I'm saying?
What about the woman over here to the left? Because she's got a monkey and me. What's she dressed
as a strawberry?
These are adults.
As a strawberry.
Yeah. These are adults.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with dressing up for a child's birthday party. That's a clown thing. That's fine. But
that's even a problem. What? Clown? Christ. He's got an engorged rump.
And his penis.
That's what monkeys do when they're mating.
Okay. Do you think that was planned? Because I don't think this guy thought of that in any scientific way.
I saw that in a nature show. They get engorged rumps. Haven't you heard of that?
I don't think this guy.
I don't think
was
his
planning
rump is
that.
engorged.
I think he's just wearing a bare butt because it's a bare butt.
Oh, so he's not just being.
I don't think he's being sciencey.
Anatomically. He's not trying to illustrate.
There's nothing sciencey about that.
Okay.
All right. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So that happened at a kid's party. So the criticism we got was not from people saying, "Oh, don't be hard on gay people." It was saying we're not being hard enough on gay people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, I've never had so much feedback from any of our podcasts, and it was all just you have to declare homosexuality as totally deviant and bad, or you've lost the argument. And I don't agree with that. I think what it comes down to for me is I really do not care what people are doing. I really don't care. And as long as they are not forcing it on other people. I'm trying to think of an example where I would care, and like drugs, or I don't really want to comment on what homosexuality is or whether it's good or bad. Like, I really don't care what people are doing when they're having sex with somebody. You know, if I'm going to pronounce immorality on somebody on a sexual thing, it would be more like promiscuity, or, you know, I would have to say that I think that's bad for your life to have multiple partners and to get really synced down into some of this kink that happens. And I think that I've heard that people who watch a lot of porn end up desensitized to real sex. Like they don't
porn?
have. What's porn?
Never heard of it.
Ask your son.
He knows all about it.
Ask your 11-year-old.
Yeah. He knows.
You know, I've heard that. I've heard that it can come to where you're not able to enjoy actual sex, which I think people need to be careful about that. And that would be an actual life-changing negative that you could point to and say, this is immoral because it's going to mess you up. You're not going to be able to have normal relationships with normal women, normal, healthy women, or men, I guess. But then you have people like Milo Yiannopoulos, who has said that he claims that most homosexual people were sexually molested. I knew that to be the case for lesbians, but he's saying it's the case with men. I don't like that they say, oh yeah, I was born this way, I was always this way, because I don't remember being sexual in my head until I was quite a bit older. Like there was no, when I was young, I was sure that I was heterosexual. Like I wasn't thinking about it. Why were they? You know, were they molested? So that born this way thing, I don't buy that. There's something that goes on. There's something that causes them to be attracted to men. And I don't know what it is. And I don't think they do either. I don't think it's been studied carefully enough. And now, of course, you can't study it at all now because it would be considered mean to suggest that there might be a cause that could be discovered and then reversed, say, you know what I mean?
Well, like by the way, I think it has been studied. And I'm not sure what the results are, but I think there's been a lot of study of it. You know, trying
about
to find
whether or not abuse was
trying to find a genetic cause and that kind of thing.
I don't mean a genetic cause. I mean a psychological cause. I mean, you know, just thinking about my childhood, when did I start wanting boys to notice me and thinking about boys, you know, romantically? I think I was like 11. Wasn't before that. So, and I think that maybe the reason that I was thinking about it at 11 was because of social stuff, like movies and things like that. So I don't even think there was really a personal attraction preference so much going into that. It was more like society, you know, the princess and the prince and the, you know, all those things. It was more of a fantasy kind of thing. So, you know, at what point did I manifest as a fully heterosexual female with sexual attraction? I don't know, probably later than that. So how can people say, oh, I was born this way? What does that even mean? You know? How do they know?
So let me make a point, which is this always bothers me when this issue comes up, because the point of morality, first of all, is personal and individual. It's the point of ethics is to guide you in making decisions that serve your rational long-term interest. The point of judgment and judging other people is to serve your own interest, to protect you from other people. So when you're making a judgment of someone, like that person's immoral or that person's okay or that person, the whole context is, or what is the context of the judgment? Are you buying a hot dog from them? Are you marrying them? Or are you going into business with them? Are they your neighbor? Do you have to protect, you know, so you have to make judgments about people's behavior in order to protect yourself. And there are all sorts of behaviors that people engage in that should be warning signs or flags or whatever. If I thought someone was, let's say I thought someone was a great business person and they're really, really good in business or whatever, but I know on the side they're sort of sexually deviant or they're into S&M or something like that, that would certainly be like a red flag, like, but at the same time, I'd be like,
Wouldn't you think someone like that is psychologically unstable in other ways?
Something's wrong there. Something's wrong there. But they could also be someone who has bad relationships with women, or they've been divorced 5 times, or they're constantly breaking up with their girlfriend, but they're also very stable and good in business or whatever the context is that I'm evaluating them for. I mean, all this stuff gets put into the stew when you're trying to make a decision. Like, again, if I'm buying a hot dog from them, I could care less what they do in their bedroom.
But if you're doing business, close business, or you're hiring somebody and you've got 2 candidates and they're equal in terms of background and skills or whatever, one is married with children, owns a home, lives a fairly stable life. The other one is a bachelor in a condo, you know, is 45 and a bachelor and like, you know, never had kids. Which one seems more stable to you?
Well, it depends. I don't know if stability, I mean, it depends on the job. If they're a salesman and I just want them to be a fun, loving guy that people want to go to golf outings with, I might choose the bachelor, especially if they're able to travel.
Right.
And they want to like see the world, and
they'll have more time.
Like, the stable married guy might say, I can't travel. I have to come into work, and I don't have time.
Right.
That's my whole point
track.
though. No, that's my whole point, is that the context of these judgments involves all sorts of other factors. And I don't think I don't just say someone's sexual proclivities in isolation makes them a bad person. They're evil. They're bad. Now, if they're forcing their sexuality on me and it becomes their identity, and they're trying to make that the central purpose of their life, which I think a lot of homosexuals do, their identity becomes like their essential attribute that they want to then force on other people.
I think that's the thing.
Accepted. That's what bothers me.
That's the thing, is that this gay activism thing has turned gayness into your whole identity. It's right. You lead with, I'm gay. And what the hell does that have to do with what, it might not have, 99% of the time, it doesn't have anything to do with anything, And then the other thing is they're trying to force it on people. I want to read their statement before I get into, I guess, our critics. Let me read. I'm going to share my screen again. Go over here. All right. This is the statement from the San Francisco gay chorus after they got so much crap for their video, right? Mm-hmm. On July 1st, we posted message from the gay community to their channel and across social media. It was chosen because of how loved it was when we performed it live here in San Francisco at Pride. Oh, you performed it in front of a bunch of gay people and they loved it. So you chose it at Singouts in South Carolina and at the Pride Showcase. Now, the thing too, you talked about we talked about this is their identity. They lead with gayness, and Pride is freaking everywhere. Like gay pride, this in Pride Month now is freaking everywhere. It's in every corporate product, it's all around us. This is what I think of as shoving it down my throat. You know what I mean? All right. The piece was commissioned by the Oakland Symphony, who shared it with us. The far-right conservative media found our message video and have taken it as their cause. This has all happened in the last 24 hours, and it continues to pick up steam. They have taken the lyrics out of context to support a narrative that suits their intolerant and hateful needs. These people are not at all like apologetic or aware that maybe we went too far when we said we're going to convert your kids. And they're saying we took it out of context. And by the way, I don't consider myself far-right conservative media. They're painting any critic with the brush of far-right conservative, which to them is also code for racist bigot, we're racist bigots if we don't want you to convert our kids to being gay. We should want our kids to be gay.
Shut down debate and not listen because you've now tarnished the other side as irredeemably bad. Yeah.
I don't think that it was taken out of context, right? I mean, I think they said exactly what is happening bit by bit. I mean, that's everywhere. We see it everywhere. So bit by bit, it's going to seep into our children's consciousnesses. That is what's going on today in the culture. I was playing a new Netflix show for my daughter. I should have the name of it because I should tell you all what it was. It was a show about a little girl who's like an Indiana Jones kind of character. And she goes back in history and brings relics from the past. Like she has a time machine and she's dressed like Indiana Jones. She goes back in the past and brings relics and people to the present to learn something about history. And I'm always wary of any new shows. And I watched the first episode with Lucia and it was fine. It was like totally fine. There was nothing about it that was that modern nihilism or anything like that, except the girl's brown and her brown mother is a PhD scientist, which is like, there are no white people, but okay, who cares? I mean, at a certain point, you got to just watch the show. Second episode, she's watching that. I'm like off doing something, and out of the corner of my mind, I hear 2 dads. What? So I come over there. The whole freaking episode is, and the girl's like, it's fine to have 2 dads. You know, there's like this desperation of like, okay, my daughter's on episode 2 and you're already pushing your gay agenda on my daughter. Wow. Like, this is the gay agenda. And we have family friends who are 2 men that are married, and we love them, and they come for Thanksgiving. And, you know, I've explained to my daughter that sometimes men marry. You know, I want to handle this. I want to handle this. I don't need Netflix to do this behind my back. So I don't control how she's understanding this, you know?
Exactly.
So, okay. As a result, we have seen the user comments on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram become increasingly alarming. Emails to individuals and the chorus office are vitriolic, including threats of harm. You deserve it. We feel the first action we must take to keep everyone involved with the chorus and the making of this video safe is to turn the video to private. They did that right away. We are communicating with law enforcement, both locally and nationally. We will not be threatened. Oh, but we can be threatened. They can threaten us and our kids. We will not be threatened, and we will follow legal steps to act on those threats. We will always accept others who may hold different values. No, you won't.
No, you won't.
That's exactly what the video is about.
Exactly.
You don't accept people with different values. But when violence is their choice of expression, and indoctrinating my children behind my back is not an expression of violence. That's not an expression of violence. Since 1969, we have not backed down. Now they're linking it to the activists of 1969 who actually had a freaking point. But you don't have a point anymore. After decades of children being indoctrinated and taught intolerance for anyone who is other, from using the Bible as a weapon. I'm not using the Bible. I don't think we've mentioned the Bible once. To reparative therapy, it's our turn. So do you get that? After decades of you indoctrinating your own children against gay people and other people, it's our turn to indoctrinate your children. That's what he's saying in this sentence. And in the first part of the statement, they said, we've been taken out of context. And then in the second part of the statement, they say, we are indoctrinating children and it's our turn. Because you've been doing it for decades. We have dedicated ourselves to being role models, teaching and spreading the message of love, gay sex. No, they didn't say that. Tolerance and celebration through our music.
Monkey dildos.
Rainbow monkey dildos with bare butts. Our second action is to work to control the narrative. The video is being illegally copied and placed on YouTube, Instagram, and other websites. Others have the right to follow fair use laws, but that is not what is happening here. Therefore, our social media marketing staff will be working to blah, 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 blah. So they're completely tone deaf.
This message and the content of this message proves the point of their critics in exactly the way you just mentioned,
100%.
Which is that, you know, they didn't say, you know what, that's not what we meant, but we can see why people took it that way. And this is what we're really trying to do. They doubled down. They just said, yeah, in fact, we are trying to indoctrinate you and it's our turn to indoctrinate you.
It's our turn to do it. It's our turn with your children.
I knew that they would come back and say, oh, you took this out of context. We were just saying be tolerant and we wanted to teach people to be tolerant and everything else. And we talked about this last time that no, like everyone has a right to have an opinion on this. And some people, for very good reasons, don't want their children being told or being taught values that are in opposition to what they believe about sexuality and sexual deviancy. And so if you're truly tolerant, you would accept that and say, you know what, let us explain what we're doing. And here, you know, here's why, and we know why you're concerned. And that's not what we meant. But no, that's not what they're saying at all. They're totally doubling down and they're showing their own intolerance of people that don't have the same values that they do.
Okay, so one criticism we got, this is from Ed. While the gay agenda folks are totalitarian, you should not confuse them with Nazis. They are the communists who controlled the cultural agenda in the Weimar Republic, who were so completely out of control that the people turned to the Nazis to get rid of them, precisely because the people in the center were all like today's Republicans, Me Tooing the deviancy. So he's accusing us of Me Tooing the deviancy, I think, because we're sort of tolerant to it. And we're not coming out and being like, being gay, it's wrong to be gay. The way to prevent Nazism in the US is to crush these people, all the communists, by a coalition of the normal, including becoming 100% assertive that homosexuality is not normal, it is deviant, and we should be looking to find a cure or treatment for it, just as we do for any other mental illness. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would, first of all, I think that if the gay people are saying no one has a right to criticize us and no one has a right to question our values and our lifestyle, because it is absolutely 100% the case that this is fine and this is normal behavior, then I think they're completely wrong in saying that. If this is abnormal behavior by definition, 90-something% of the population is not gay. So by definition, what you're doing is abnormal. But I don't think we know. On the other hand, unlike some behaviors, which I would say are like uncontroversially wrong, in terms of like me assessing the morality of it. Like if you commit a crime or you're raping some, stuff like that. Like the issue of sexuality and homosexuality to me is sort of an unknown. I don't think people understand it completely scientifically or psychologically. And so I do not personally believe feel I have the basis to say this is absolutely 100% wrong and you need to stop doing it. What I would say is everyone has the right to make this decision and come to their own conclusion, and that I think it is uncontroversially, or I should say incontrovertibly wrong to make your sexual identity the basis of your life and character. Just like I don't say, well, here's what my sexual proclivity is and that's all I care about, and I want to get your kids, I want to go to your kids and your children and explain why whatever it is I do in my bedroom is okay and you should accept me. I think that's completely beyond the pale. So I think it's wrong in both cases to take that approach, but I do agree that we have to be very, very, I think my concern is that in the culture, it's becoming completely unacceptable and borderline illegal it's becoming borderline illegal. Certainly it's career threatening and life threatening to criticize or to question homosexuality or say, we don't value that, we don't like it, we think it's abnormal, we think it's wrong, whatever. And that has to stop. We have to be able to, all sides have to be able to.
How do we stop that though? Because I think what he's saying is the only way to stop it is to be like, I mean, I kind of appreciate the point.
I do.
That you have to be kind of uncompromising at a certain point. I'm sort of feeling that way with race lately. Like they're going to push white people to a point where white people are going to have to band together and be racist. I don't want to be racist, but if I have to protect my family, I will. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course I will.
Yeah. If you're coming after the white people in a race.
Yeah. If you're trying to genocide white people, I'm going to band together with white people and I'm going to shoot I'm going to kill every brown person that isn't on my side. And maybe innocent ones because I'm not sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, it has to be uncompromising.
The other side initiated that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not that I have a problem with Black or brown people. It's that I have to protect my family from a threat. And like any enemy, if Germany is your enemy and you're fighting Germany, you don't stop and go, is this an innocent German or is this a guilty German? Like you just have to go, well, it's Germans.
Yeah.
We're against Germans right now.
Once you've collectively identified yourself as like, this is the attribute that our side and our team is rallying around, and we're coming after you and we're fighting the others, whether it, like you said, whether it's the Japanese Empire or the Germans, or a race says, we're coming after this race. And at that point, then the other side has to say, well, okay, well, we're going to band together and fight the Germans or whatever.
Yeah. So I think this is maybe a call to like gay people who aren't assholes. You better freaking stop this gay agenda, because it is destroying anybody's goodwill for your own privacy and your own right to do what you want in the bedroom, because it is being forced down everybody's throat and we're sick of it. And especially with regards to our kids. And one of our commenters said he feels that this is what's really going on here is pedophilia. And I think that is what people are increasingly when you send a rainbow monkey with nipples, a butt, and a penis to talk to a bunch of children, how is that not pedophilia?
Right.
That is pedophilia. So, oh no, it was just a gay monkey. Oh, fuck you. You know? Honestly, are we stupid? We're not stupid, right?
Well, this is the other thing that seems to be lost in this argument from their side too, is that who's forcing reparative therapy on these people? Like I just saw that in Minnesota, they're trying to make conversion therapy illegal. You know, people that want to go to therapy and convert. Yeah, there's a law, and I don't know if it passed, but I saw a headline that this is the governor is backing a bill that would make conversion therapy illegal. And who's for, like, if the government was coming in and saying, we're going to force you at the point of a gun to not be gay, or we're going to pass an anti-gay law where we're going to round these people up like they do in a lot of Muslim countries in the Middle East. Totally understand. I'm on board. Civil rights, that's ridiculous and evil. But no one's doing that in America. Who's doing that in America? You know, that's not happening at all. Right. So like, what are they reacting against? They're reacting against people who just personally find what they're doing objectionable, or don't like it, or don't want to teach their children
Again,
that's a value.
Is it pedophilia?
I think if you're bringing sexuality to kids and you're imposing a certain view of sexuality on kids at the wrong age, I don't know if it's directly, I guess you could construe it as pedophilia. I think it's certainly
some kind
psychologically, it's some form of child abuse. Like I know there are no kids that should be thinking about sex really before like you naturally come to that in puberty. And if you're a parent and you feel like something has happened in your home where your child needs to understand or hear a certain, like, let's say they're 9 or 10 and they see something on TV or the internet and they're asking you about it, then it's up to you as a parent to explain that and present it to them in a way that's suitable based on their age. If you have a party like the state and the government, public educational systems that are forcing immature minds and children into trying to understand or question their own sexuality, or whether they should be their gender, or drag queens or whatever, that is a form of child abuse. And I think it should be illegal. And this is where I think the rubber meets the road, is like, because we do have discretion societally to determine what is child abuse. And that's sort of a consensus of the community. Like if a father and mother are not sending their kids to school, they're not clothing them, if they're not feeding them, obviously if they're physically abusing them, there's a level at which the state can declare this family unsuitable and child protective services can come in. And this is what's scaring me now, is where is that line being drawn? If you're a parent and you want to make your kid a boy into a girl, or a girl into a boy, or like the baby, and maybe you can talk about this in a minute, that video you told me about where the woman, you got to talk about that too, because that's where the rubber meets the road. This isn't just an opinion. Now we're talking about child abuse.
That's
right?
child abuse. Doug's talking about a video that went around. It was a couple, one woman, one man. The man has decided he's a woman, and the woman has decided she's the man, and they've had a baby together because there is a female and a male involved in this relationship. So they've had a baby. So the video is of this trans man who has fake boobs. It's so disgusting. He's breastfeeding the baby. Or rather, I should say, the baby is sucking on his nipple.
His fake boobs.
His fake boobs. And he then says, she's able to latch, but there's no milk. And the person, this man, is upset about it. And then his husband, who's really the woman, is comforting him and saying, just keep trying, just keep trying. So they've got an infant sucking on a man's breast for no purpose except that man's own gratification, because the baby's not getting any food. Like, I didn't have my daughter sucking my boob when there was no milk. Why would I do that? You know, she breastfed because there was milk there. I didn't go, gee, I can't wait till my baby's sucking my boob, you know?
And this
for
is
no
where
reason.
That's child
abuse. It's insane. It is child abuse.
I mean, you have a baby, an innocent baby who, like you said, who's being used almost as a prop or a doll.
Yeah. It's a doll.
Gratify this man's delusion and his mental illness.
And not even that, like, there's no woman on earth who's can't wait to have a baby sucking her boob unless she's sick too. The whole purpose is to feed the baby. It's a purpose about the baby. It's not
about you.
About you at all. And so for him to be like, well, his goal here is to have his breast sucked on, and it's sickening. And then for him to be like totally delusionally, and there's no milk coming out, and I'm going to keep trying, but it's very sad that I haven't been able to actually produce milk yet. I'm sorry, put that person in a mental hospital and take that baby away.
So now here's where the critics of what we're saying, I completely understand their outrage, because at this point, how do you, because I could see those people being taken into court. Now, if they go to court in a normal state, I think it's potentially the case that Child Protective Services could take that baby away from them. But I would think that because of the politics, particularly if this was in California or New York or some state like that, what do you think? Do you think the court would have the sort of like moral courage to say, you guys are sick. What you're doing is like biologically crazy. You're clowns, and you are not suitable to be parents, and we're taking your child away, so to speak. Now, in a normal society, that would be completely, common sense. But in our sick society, because of this agenda and the politics around it, well, no.
Aren't we supposed to let everybody have their thing?
Yeah,
and
just
like anything,
proud. Just be proud.
Meanwhile, I was reading an article the other day that it's not moral relativism anymore, because they hate us.
Right.
And they're against our wholesome morality. They're for deviancy and deviant morality, whatever that is. Anything weird and wrong is upheld, and then anyone normal is considered bigoted and immoral. So it's a strange time. And so as a result, the gay agenda is really evil, and it's child abuse, and regular gay people should fight it. I mean, there are gay conservatives, I think, who definitely speak out against it, and there needs to be more of that, or you're all going to get painted with that brush. So that's what I have to say about that.
Right.
What else was I going to say about this issue? Ed also sent a thing over saying Americans who identify as LGBT. There's a statistic here. Maybe I'll hold this up to the camera. I should have just had it. But is it backwards? Or can you
No, it's fine. I can see it.
So obviously Gen Z, like, it's a huge percentage. It's 16%. Millennials, it's 9%. So the argument is, it's going up. The generations And I think it's become cool to identify as some kind of LGBT. There's also this thing where you have to try to find a victim status.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a big motivator for this. It's not so much that these kids are actually gay or trans or whatever. They're looking for moral credit, especially if they're white. You have to find a way to have some kind of standing. You are white people are now second-class citizens in this society, and the only way to overcome that is to be gay or some kind of gender fluid or queer or trans or something. The only way is to be LGBTQ plus plus plus.
Or it could also be that they've muddied the waters so much around sexuality. Like, you know, if you're a teenager and you've been aroused even in some mild way by someone of the same sex, or you're so on board with it, it's okay, that you say, well, maybe I am partly bi or something. So
they've also said, if you are just feeling like women, I know from experience that, and I'm sure boys go through the same thing, when you develop and you go through puberty, it's kind of like everything's weird, and you can become self-conscious and feel bad about it and uncomfortable, and things happen so quickly. Like, literally, I grew boobs in like a month. You know, I was not comfortable with that. I did not want that. That was like really shocking to me. And my clothes didn't fit. Like, it was really awful to figure out how to get used to having a woman's body. Or when you get your period, I mean, you're bleeding. It's like, oh, that's exciting. That's fun. You're really happy when that happens. So you have all these negative emotions around your developing body, because it's hard. It's a hard thing to go through. And I don't think our society really celebrates it, you know? So it's all kind of negative.
That's a huge red flag, because that's really concerning to me, that like historically X% of the population is, you know, willing to say they're gay. And of course, some of that percentage might be that people are just more willing to talk about it or whatever. But that fact that there's a big jump there, I mean, think it's a red flag fake, psychologically in our culture.
Yes, but I don't think it's real gayness increasing.
No, that's what I mean, is that people, like, I don't think so either. So what I'm saying is, like, the fact that so many people are kind of confused and disoriented to the point where they're willing to answer that question like affirmatively rather than say no, that's a sign of like decadence and confusion and like just a total decay of.
Well, to finish my point, what I was saying though is you get a little uncomfortable with your developing body, and today you say, yeah, I think I'm trans. You know, I don't feel comfortable in a woman's body, or the reverse.
Right. Rather than just, hey, deal with it. That's part of life. You're a girl,
it's just life,
or you're a boy.
And it's uncomfortable. It is awkward. It is like, weird.
Oh, now I'm feeling a little bit of discomfort. So I need to change or go do something different or whatever.
And when you get social credit for doing it too, the incentive to be like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable. I think I'm trans. I'm going to declare it. And then I'm going to get all kinds of social credit for that. I mean, of course, more children are identifying as LGBT. So anyway, that's my take on that. So I don't know if that answers the questions of our critics, but regarding the thing about how that Ed made, where if we don't sort of call them communists and crush them, we're going to end up with Nazis as our leaders. I totally see this happening. I mean, right? We're seeing the train wreck of this happening. Either we get this horrible, just absolutely unlivable communist revolution. That's an unlivable state. It's a nihilist state of being, where all values are out the window. All production is out the window. There's anarchy basically in the streets, you know.
Then people go to a strong man to try and
either we get that, or we get basically a monarch, you know, a king of some kind, a dictator, a Hitler, who will crush them. And then who knows what that person will dream up to justify crushing people the way that, do you really think Hitler cared about Jews? I'm not sure he did. Like when you look at the progression of, I think they just look for scapegoats,
I think they really did. I mean, I think they, in his writings,
I thought that it wasn't something that he came up with until further along.
No, in Mein Kampf in the 1920s, he's writing about that. So,
oh, okay. Well, then what do I know about it? So the point is that either way, we don't end up with freedom,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's sort of like ethical relativism, because it's not just ethical relativism now, because it was, like you said before, we've gone from ethical relativism, which was the start of it, which was, oh, we don't know what's right, so everyone just do your own thing, which politically, morally, I don't accept, but politically, I understand that, people have the right to make their own choices. But now we've gone the opposite way to say, no, if you embrace traditional values, which I guess that means what? That you believe in biology and science and kind of like normal human nature,
living a good life and living a human life where you get married and have kids and try to bring them up nicely and successfully. And
you're not just part of the establishment, or you're just not a normal kind of middle of the road person. You're actually the problem. You're evil. You've got to go.
Yeah.
The right way to do it is what we're doing. And we're going to persecute you now because it's our turn, which is what they said in their thing. That's when you start to move towards violence, and people start calling for, you know what? We need a strong man. We need violence. We need physical, because now you're afraid,
But, and aren't you seeing the situation where you yourself are thinking those thoughts, that how are we going to get out of this without somebody to just crush it all? Because the tentacles are everywhere. It's like a poison that, how do we root that? We have so many problems, and China, and then the European globalists, and within we have the Black Lives Matters and the gay agenda, and the
corporations have all
the corporations,
into this.
the social media,
everywhere.
The fact that it's everywhere like that. And I think some of that just goes with the wind. So some of it will just change when things change, but some of it has to be crushed. And how do you do that with a free society? I think that's something that is the question, how do we crush this totalitarian, deviant crap coming at us in all directions without a strong man, and when we're left with freedom? And it was Bastille Day yesterday, and I was thinking that exact thought, how easy it is to fight for your freedom and have it degenerate into some awful police state with a dictator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and by the time Napoleon took over from those horrible people were relieved when Napoleon took over, because you didn't have the crazy communists anymore.
Yeah, when you start to increase social unrest along both economic and cultural lines like this, historically, one side is going to win. Someone's going to win. And people don't exist and cooperate in societies where one side is dominant like this. And like you said, if it degenerates further, there's going to be calls. There's already calls, obviously, for things like secession, and
on both sides.
Get away from these people, and from both
from both sides
to separate.
I really feel like there's a missed opportunity. If we ever get the presidency again, the thing to do is to push them to secede. It's not to secede ourselves. It's to start enforcing federal law on them and have them secede, like immigration law. That's all it would take. I don't know. It's just, we'll see. The future is pretty crazy one way or the other. I don't know. It's all going to depend on our leaders. If they're tough, but also ideologically love freedom, then we'll be all right. If not, we won't be.
Well, I don't think it can be resolved because I think the one side, the left now, is at the point of religious epistemology. And by that, I just mean that they've insulated themselves from criticism. And we saw this in the response letter that you read.
Yeah.
There's no sense in which they're saying the far right conservatives, which I guess means anyone, like 80 to 100 million people in this country. There's no sense in which they consider any of those people's ideas to be even in the realm of discussion. If you're in that group, we can't listen to you. You're offending us. You're a bigot. You're evil. You need to be canceled. You need to be like done away with. That's the attitude. It's not, okay, they have a point. We don't agree with it, but we understand where they're coming from. This is what we think. And that's not what's happening here. They're saying, if you even argue with us, the mere fact that you're disagreeing with our agenda means by definition that you're bigoted and evil and need to be done away with. Oh, stop talking. Wait, you're arguing again. That's hurting me even more.
Yeah,
well, let me argue with you. No, if you say any words, you're just hurting me more. So where's the debate going to take place here? Now it's like, okay, we got to just act. This side's going to act and this side's going to act. And then it just becomes violent, which is like two religions. When one religion says, no, we believe in green monkeys and no, we believe in pink monkeys. There's no resolving that. There's no way to rationally come to some sort of compromise or agreement there. So they're just going to kill each other and one side's going to win. I mean, that's human history. And I think that unfortunately, this philosophy that they've developed in which they've taken it upon themselves to decide that they're morally righteous and everybody else is evil, that's the path they're going down.
And that's a really good point to specify. This is their path. They're the ones who did this because nobody was out here pushing, there might've been a few people saying, we don't want gay people to marry. We don't want gay people, gay people spread AIDS or, gay people are pedophiles. Like there's definitely people who were saying that 10 years ago. But
not many, but
not many.
Of course, there's always people saying things.
And you didn't have to put up with that, anyway, I do
but it wasn't like they were being crushed. It wasn't like, oh my God, gay people are being rounded up and now they have to fight a war. It was just this.
That was kind of over. And
they won the war. I mean,
they won the war. Just like kind of civil rights, that happened. Black people, like everybody has full rights and then some. I actually see Black people as being privileged, or Black and brown people as being privileged today because it's in the institutions that try to hire more and and more get into college, at the expense of somebody more qualified. That is putting them above white people and Asian people, I guess. So I guess, this is sort of their path. They're continuing to push it and it's going to explode at some point. I'm worried about. Now, I guess I kind of have this confidence that of course we'll win because they're so stupid and they're so irrational and they're so destructive that as long as we just at some point we stand up and fight, we'll win. But my worry is it's an opportunity for, a dictator to take over our side as well, because I don't think that our culture, the normal people, I like that we call ourselves normies. I think that's actually a really good term. We don't have a good sense of what a free society would look like, and how to have that. I don't feel like we have a good sense of that. I don't feel like we have a commitment to that. There's a lot of communism that's been just accepted by even normal people.
I don't know. I mean, we had a pretty good run. We had a reasonable run, societally for a while in this country and in the West. And I think to me, the answer to these kinds of cultural things is smaller, more limited, decentralized governmental polities, or whatever you want to call it, and where a government can be local and represent the mores of that culture and that society. Alabama should be governed differently than California. And I just think the idea that we all have to sit here and like pontificate whether you're gay and you're trying to convert the world to gayness or whatever the hell you're doing, or whether I have to sit here and say, no, all gay people, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, from a political standpoint, like, we could ethically argue that all day. From a political standpoint, if we could just all separate and have local government and not have the fear or the willingness or the desire to want to spread a one-size-fits-all recipe for 350 million people, I think we'd all just, in other words,
everybody could just calm down.
Just calm down. Yeah.
Everyone could just calm down and start living our lives again. Do you remember that it used to be that you could just have a life and live a life and watch sports and go to movies and not have to think about this stuff?
And I'm not just trying to pass the buck morally and say, I don't want to make a decision or something. I don't think that even matters. I think all that matters to us is politically, like, go to your own corner. If you want to be in a blue state, be in a blue state. If you want to be in a red state, be in a red state. And let's stop trying to impose these universal doctrines on one another. I think that's a horrible way to try and govern. And the problem is we do have to worry about it, because when you have a power center like Washington, D.C., which does have the financial and physical power to do things like pass an education mandate that gets spread through 50 states across hundreds of millions of people, where they're trying to indoctrinate children, we do have to worry about the federal government. And you do have to, but you much more have to worry about your state government and your local government.
But it's not just the government, Doug. It's in the culture.
Right.
So even if you're in Alabama and you have your own politics, you have Netflix trying to indoctrinate your kids into trying to express a certain sexuality, morality to these little kids. I mean, the show I was telling you about, it is a basic cartoon that is for little kids.
Yeah.
And then the social media companies that are in Silicon Valley, and they're all censoring, just if we politically split, we still have that problem. Like, it doesn't solve the cultural issue.
It doesn't. I think to some extent, though, it could help in that if you were in a red state where, Ron DeSantis is the governor, and he did and has passed a law that says you can sue social media, social media can't censor certain viewpoints. So we could speak out and say we're against this and have immunity. Because right now, part of the problem is that the opposing voices to this stuff can't be heard on social media because they're shutting everybody down. So the prominent social conservatives or the prominent voices out there are being completely suppressed and silenced. And so a large centralized government can affect that. And I think if at least, again, I'm not saying this is the solution. I think culturally we have to fight for it. But if we can't speak and we have no platforms, then we're going to be limited. And so if we can sort of decentralize and get our states to pass, issue.
I don't think we change the culture without getting rid of the censorship. I do think there are a lot of people who, I think it's becoming actually kind of cool to be against that other group. There are a lot of people now, and prominent people who are cool, people who have, and they're the mocking and the teasing and the different words, like when people are, oh, he's so based. Like that's a real youthful term for somebody who's kind of black-pilled and,
well, right. Cause these establishment woke people now, they're like the bad guys in Footloose.
Yes.
Remember John Lithgow? Yes. No dancing,
Right.
They've become the nuns and the priests and the Inquisition.
And the youthful opposition is being censored. If they weren't being censored, I think the culture would be changing a lot faster because it isn't cool to be so hall monitory. It's just not. It never will be.
Monitors.
Or priest and nunny, it's never going to be cool. All right. On that note, let's end the show today. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks for your time, Doug. I know you gave me more than 42.8 minutes.
I don't know. I got sucked into it.
I knew you would.
I'll take it away from you.
I totally knew you would. I knew when you said, I only have 40 minutes. I'll give you 40 minutes. I thought, yeah, he's going to give me an hour and 15.
Once again, I was duped.
All right. Hey, everybody. We'll see you next week. All right.
There is a house called the House of Sunny. It's filled with satire and fun. It's been the demise of bad ideas, and we'll know what's right when she's done. So download this free podcast now and give perspectives you may lack. It's concise and right and achieves world peace, guaranteed all your money back. Last time, ready?